corporations keep them in office. So what we need to figure out then is if politicians aren't in charge, then who's in charge? Well, it's the corporations, right? So how do we push back against the corporations? We do that by striking and boycotting. But so boycott comes first, but in order to boycott, we need non-corporate alternatives, right? We need more local options. If you're feeling this, hop in the Discord, but we need more local options. Well, the only way that we can create more local options is if we create more local groups to come together to figure out what it is that we need, right? So we have to start looking at protests, not as the end goal, but protests are our recruiting grounds. That's what we need. Protests are our recruiting grounds. And we need to get people to see that they are just the first step. Because we need to turn local action into national leverage. And we do that by feeding this feedback loop, by feeding this momentum loop. Because mass actions, they get people together. And it used to be that if enough of us got together, the politicians would listen. But now the politicians do not care about us at all because we don't pay their salaries. So it's weird. A bunch of us get together and nothing happens, right? So how do we actually make them listen? How do we get our voices heard? Well, we understand that politicians are not the ones in charge anymore. It's the dang corporations, right? So corporations are the ones that are actually in charge. And the way that we get corporations to listen to us is we hit them where it hurts, right? We hit them in their wallet, the only place they actually care. And so the only way that we can hit them in their wallet is if we are able to boycott. Because we cannot strike or boycott if we don't have alternative options. And we don't have alternative options unless we start forming local groups. Because essentially it's all right here. Let me get this bigger here. So more mass actions equals more connections. More connections equals local groups forming. Local groups forming means we have more non-corporate alternatives. More non-corporate alternatives means we have the ability to boycott and strike. And the ability to boycott and strike leads to more mass actions, which leads to more connections. And this is the feedback loop that we will use to win. Because right now it feels like all these actions are sporadic, but really they all need to just be feeding the same goal. So anybody, anywhere can start this. Absolutely, AmpMV. Because the corporate corruption is so deep. And we think that when something is wrong in our society, we go to the politicians, right? But what happens when the politicians work for the very people who are screwing us over? Nothing happens, right? Our salaries stay the same. The cost of living rises up because corporations and politicians both have the same goal. If they keep you broke, if you do not have 6 months worth of savings, you'll do anything they say. Because the only reason that we should have 3 months or 6 months of savings is so we can tell our boss, screw you, fix this shit or I'm not coming back. We need to be able to tell our country, the economy, hey, we are not taking part in this economy until you fix it. Why would we keep working for something that works against us? I've been saying that the economy is like a big car, but it's broken down. And they need us to go push the car. So they're like, come on, people, come push the car. And we're like, all right, well, we need to make a living. So we push the car and then they run over us every single time. And we're like, yo, Will you stop running over us? We're the ones pushing the car. The only reason it's moving forward is because we show up at your company every day and do all the hard work. Yet every time we push you forward, you turn and run us over. So for a long time, we've been asking them, hey, stop running us over. Stop running us over. Can't you make this work for us instead of against us? I'm sick that you're running me over. I'm pissed off. But it seems like our voices aren't being heard, right? It feels like our voices are not being heard. That's because they aren't. Because we are trying to ask for change when we have no leverage. We are trying to bite the hand that feeds us, and we're confused why. Essentially, you can't defeat a system that you depend on, right? You can't defeat a system that you depend on. We depend on this system for our food, for our housing, for our healthcare. It's the only thing that so many people have known. Joey B, I would be with you, but anything that works for people, they have demonized. People hate unions. I talk about them a lot, but people hate unions. I have to say it like this: a group of employees negotiating together. That's it. That makes more sense. Because if you say unions, people think of some fat cat taking your salary and paying your dues, right? No, Joey, I'm with you. I used to think the same thing, though, because I think we should have a general union. A general union. All industries have other industries' backs. But people don't like that because for 50 years, unions have been lied about, propagandized against, and people think it's terrible. What we are doing is we are breaking out by state. We are building what we need to live. We're not just talking about what is wrong. We are building what is right. And what we will have to understand is that corporations don't add any value. They do jack shit. We are the ones that eat the food and that need the goods and services. And the farmer is somebody in your county, in your zip code, that wants to provide you with food. But the corporations make all the money, not because they do the good work, hard work, right? But because they control access. That's it. They control access. Yup, Ampinvir, everything else is a symptom. Because people talk about all the problems in our society, and hell yeah, there's a lot of problems, but they're all symptoms. Trump, symptom, not the problem. We need to understand that until we get to the disease and stop treating the symptom, we're never going to fix it, right? And so much right now, we have so many people that want to do something. But it's almost like if a doctor tells you that you have stage 5 heart disease, but then doesn't tell you what to do. So you go and you eat healthy for a week and you work out 24/7. And by the end of it, you've burnt yourself out and you're not even any better. Because it's nothing you can do immediately. It's small choices you have to make every single day. And the big thing is all of us have to make these choices every single day. And that's how we win. It's by our first steps being small steps together. It's by us understanding that, oh, okay, corporations do not care about us, but they provide us everything we need to live. What if, instead of corporations controlling where our food came from, what if we were the ones that did that instead? What if we controlled where our food came from? Because we're the ones that eat the food. We're the ones that need the food to live. But then the very next question is, oh, I can never compete with a grocery store. Not based on the amount of products, but you could compete with the grocery store on how much you care. In fact, I would dare say that a grocery store will never care more than you would care because you're part of the community that you are serving. And that's what this really comes down to. We call it localism. Not quite, Neil. We can get there if we want, but we need to start with localism because right now you got to think of this as a giant ship. And Neil, you're talking about turning that ship a 180, and that's a lot. What I'm talking about is first, let's understand the point of a society. Let's understand the point of a society and then work backwards from there. Because right now, they've convinced us that a point of society is to get money to fight against each other. But it's not. The point of a society is so that the majority of people can achieve security, so that people have some freedom, so that they're not scared all the time. Basically, you treat everyone like they have intrinsic value because they do. And if we treated everyone like they had intrinsic value, we'd be able to design something that worked for people instead of against them. Because here's really what it comes down to. What motivates humans? How do you get the most out of a human being? How do you get the most out of a human being? Do you get the most out of a human being by denying them food and denying them housing? So that every day when they come to their job, they are wondering if they are going to have enough next month. They are stressed about whether their kid is eating healthily or not because they don't have the money to buy more healthy options. Is that how you get someone to be the most productive as you can? Or, because what we've been told is that people need to suffer or else they'll be lazy, right? We've all been told this. People need to suffer or else they'll be lazy. God damn, that frustrates me. Because if we actually think about it, if people are able to have food, not like luxury, food, housing, and healthcare, they actually contribute more to society. They contribute more to society because what it is, look, we believe in teaching a man to fish, right? Not giving him the fish. But if when you go teach somebody to fish, they haven't eaten in a week and they haven't slept in a bed, well, how much are they really going to learn, right? How well is that actually going to stick? So what we need to understand is that when people's needs are met, they actually contribute more to society. Think of it this way. Do you know how many people that were as smart as Einstein have died working in a factory because their intelligence was never realized because they weren't born to the factory owner. They were born to the factory employee instead. So do you know how many technological innovations, how much wonderful technology we have missed out on because that brilliant person was born to the factory employee rather than the factory owner? Right now, in order to have an Einstein, somebody needs to be born as smart as Einstein, and then they need to be born to somebody rich enough so that person can pursue their education. Because that's what it comes down to. Humans' value is not based off of how much money you can make. A human's value is based off of being a goddamn human. Being somebody's child, being somebody's friend, having a heart and a mind and feelings. Because really, inside, we're all the same. We're all the same. Everybody sleeps. Everybody eats. We all just want a nice place that we can call our home to eat and sleep. And then we want enough money so that we can live a nice life. and maybe get some health care when we need it. So we have to understand that, number one, dehumanizing people and saying that they're evil versus just understanding that the incentives are misaligned. The people up top aren't evil. They're incentivized to screw you over. That's it. Corporations and CEOs run our country. They dominate the economy. And corporations and CEOs only care about what? One thing: their quarterly profit. So they will lay off 5,000, 10,000 workers if they can hit their quarterly profit. Screw what happens in 9 months. That CEO might not even have a job. That CEO is incentivized to screw people over in the next 3 to 6 months because that's what their bonus is based off of. Healthcare CEOs, same way. I mean, they're a little bit worse because they are actively deciding whether people get healthcare or not. But all it is they're incentivized to not give us care because their money is determined on how much care they give us, right? So the way that we fix it is we just take our shit back. We just take our shit back. They never owned it in the first place. They were supposed to be stewards, but they lied. Or more likely what happened is the person that started the company actually looked out for the community because they were part of the community. Then their kids probably took over. They sold it to private equity. And then that's how people get screwed over. So, Carrie, what we're doing in the Discord, we break out by states. That's the first thing. We have to break out by states because it's not about national groups. National groups aren't going to do anything to fix this long term. It has to be local. And then what we do is everybody is working towards the same goal. We all understand what we're trying to do, turn that local action into national leverage. Absolutely inside the mind. So we can take it back. That's what it comes down to. We need food. We are the ones that grow the food. The corporations simply just buy all the food and make sure we don't have any. That's it. So what we do is we take back what we need. So it starts with our food rather than getting it from the grocery stores. Yes. So that's exactly what it is. The protests need to be recruiting grounds. And then they need to be recruiting grounds for the next steps. And that's where we start building out So the decision tree right here is where we have everybody choose, and the green boxes are action items. So on this side, it's immediate actions that take place it's immediate actions that take place in the next 1 to 3 months. On this side, it's long-term actions. Both sides feed each other. So we have all this local ways that you can put pressure on your community. Then we have all these quick ways that you can build community in your area. Then on the other side, we have long-term community and long-term pressure. Because this is really what we need to understand is that short-term action, like basically mass action, when we get angry, when we protest and we do things like that, what it really does is it's not really like the protesting isn't the goal, right? Protesting doesn't accomplish anything on its own, especially if politicians are not paying attention to us. So protesting doesn't accomplish much. What protests need to do is they need to be a place where people connect. More protesting equals more connections. More connections equal local groups forming. When local groups form, they can build or find local alternatives. More local alternatives equals the ability to boycott and strike. The ability to boycott and strike equals more mass action. And this is the very feedback loop that I am describing. Right here. More mass action equals more community. More community equals local groups. Local groups equals more non-corporate alternatives. Non-corporate alternatives means ability to boycott. Ability to boycott equals more mass action. And then we're starting the circle over again. This is how we win, y'all. And what we are basically, it's going to be a small business revolution. We are going to be using co-ops. We are going to be creating trading and bartering. And it's basically, we understand that this country's not going to get fixed. The economy is not going to get fixed because we have no leverage to make them fix it. All we really have to do is stop participating. The only reason we have to participate now is because this system is how we get everything we need to live. All of us, the majority of us, get our food from corporate grocery stores. And if they cut us off, it would be hard to find a local grocery store that was just as efficient. Almost every one of us, 99% of people, pay their health insurance premiums to a corporation every goddamn month. And then whether you're paying rent or your mortgage, that shit goes to a corporation too. Wheels and Tunes, you're right. Because they're already inside the building. Because until like us saying, stop it, will not do anything. Because they control us. They know that there is nothing we can do. We do not have a voice. Not because we're not protesting. Protesting is the right thing to do. We don't have a voice because we can't boycott worth shit. And so if the only voice you have, so what it's like, speak softly and carry a big stick, right? We're speaking softly and have no stick at all. Or it's like we're speaking loudly, but we don't have a stick. The stick that we need, the only thing they listen to is a goddamn boycott. And I'm not even going to mention a strike because a boycott is just having non-corporate alternatives. Goddamn, a strike is having enough economic freedom, having enough Americans with 3 months or 6 months of savings that they feel comfortable saying, yeah, I'm going to sit this one out for about 2 months till y'all fix your shit. Because that's the most powerful thing we can do, whether it is with a job where you tell your boss, look, I don't need this. I'm going to go spend, I got 6 months worth of savings. I'm going to go spend a month chilling. And you fix your shit or else I'm not coming back. If you fix it, maybe I'll come back. You can do that to your roommate, to your partner, right? It's the most powerful thing you can do. Well, that's what we need to do to the goddamn American economy. Join the Discord if you haven't yet. We are breaking out by state. If you aren't somebody that can build it, be a part of it. That's all that we ask. If you don't have the capacity to help build it, then you can help somebody else who does. Because the way that I see this is we are going to have 1 million small businesses starting in this country. And no, they're not going to take over the corporations right away, but they are going to show people that we can do this shit. That it feels so, because that's the last thing. We lose hope, right? Everybody that sees the economy is completely captured. We all see that the media is for profit and not for people. We all see that that politicians don't give a two shits about us, but we lose hope because what the hell can little old me do about it? That's where we have to understand, if we move together, if everything that everyone does adds to the feedback loop, then people in San Diego and Portland, Maine can both be doing different things. And as long as it feeds the feedback loop, they are still working towards the same goal, which is building local power. So it's essentially, you choose what you want to do. Do I want to do something immediately? Do I want to do something long-term? If you can, do both. Then each of those options gives you another option. Do you want to put pressure on the current system? Do you want to scream and yell and get that frustration out? Or do you want to start building something new? Where that next person, when they're down on their luck, that maybe they can come use that clothing drive that you started, or that food drive that you started, or you can go put something in the community fridge. Because I know there's a lot of us that said, I've done the protesting route. I've screamed as much as I can scream. I'm ready to fucking build. Excuse my language. And that's what this is for the people that are ready to build. The people that say, hey, this protest is great, but I'd like to be one of the people that helps plan the next one to make the next one even bigger. Because shit, these blackouts are important, but whether we stay connected or not is more important. That's what really matters. We had the one general strike last week. What really matters is this next one going to be just that much bigger, because that's all that really matters. Can we compound our victories? Can we make this exponentially larger? Well, the only way we can do that is continuing to follow the feedback loop, to see that more mass actions, they aren't there. The protest is not the point. The mass action is there so people can connect. People connecting and staying connected is the point. Because once people connect and stay connected, they start forming local groups. And those local groups either map out or build non-corporate alternatives. And that allows us to start the cycle again. Carrie, we actually meet every single Sunday. And that's exactly what we do. We discuss the plans, strategy, progress. I love it. It fills up my cup. I feel happy. We're able to trade strategies. Somebody else is able to come in and say, shoot, we already have that in my area. I can tell you how we built it. More and more people are understanding that, okay, maybe I don't take the time convincing someone who doesn't see a problem. Because damn, if somebody still doesn't see a problem, their head must be buried pretty deep. So rather than wasting all my energy talking to my uncle, who is literally never going to get it, or whoever it might be, what if we started seeing people as, where are they at on the spectrum? Do they still think that there's no problem at all? Okay, well, maybe your head's in the sand a little bit, and I don't know if I want to go through all the fighting and cussing and screaming that it takes to pull your head out of the sand. I'm more concerned about that person whose head is already out of the sand, and they're going, does anybody else think this is effed up? Does anybody else feel like they're getting screwed over? And then that's where we can walk right up and say, yes, friend, join the loop. Join the momentum. Because all it takes isn't just enough of us going to the park on a Saturday. It's going to a park on a Saturday and staying connected. So join the Discord if you haven't yet. That is where we break out into groups by state. And have a good one, everybody.